In the heart of a lush, sun-drenched valley stood the ancient African village of Ida, a place alive with rhythm, color, and community. The morning sun bathed the land in golden light as the village stirred with life. Thatched roof huts arranged in circular compounds formed the backbone of the settlement, their earthen walls glowing warmly under the sky. Chickens clucked and scratched at the dust, goats bleated from behind woven fences, and the air was filled with the scent of roasting maize, fresh palm oil, and the distant smoke of morning fires. The central square was the heartbeat of Ida. Women, strong and graceful, moved through the open space with baskets balanced expertly on their heads, carrying vegetables, yams, spices, and fish from the nearby stream. Their wrappers swayed with each step, and their laughter rose like music. Some gathered under the shade of the iroko tree, chatting while weaving mats, grinding pepper, or braiding each other's hair in intricate patterns passed down through generations. Children darted barefoot between the huts, their joyous shouts echoing like bird song. Some played traditional games with stones and sticks, others chased each other with wild abandon. Elderly men sat on carved stools at the edge of the square, their weathered faces calm and wise. They sipped palm wine, telling stories laced with wisdom to younger men who sat cross-legged before them, listening intently. From one corner of the village came the sharp clang of a blacksmith's hammer, shaping metal into farming tools and spearheads. Nearby, potters molded clay into cooking pots, their fingers working skillfully with water and earth. The drummaker's shed was alive with the sound of goatskin being stretched and tightened, the early rhythms of life pulsing beneath each beat. The diviner's hut sat at the edge of the forest path, a mysterious place draped in cowries, feathers, and chalk markings. Villagers came and went quietly, seeking guidance, blessings, or protection. Smoke from burning herbs curled into the sky, carrying prayers to the ancestors. By mid-morning, the village buzzed with trade. The open marketplace swelled with people exchanging goods, grains for cloth, fish for kola nuts, stories for laughter. Voices rose in negotiation, in greeting, in song. Drums began to speak in rhythm, announcing the coming of a celebration, or perhaps the return of hunters from the forest. Ida was more than a collection of huts. It was a living spirit, a place where tradition breathed in every ritual, where kinship was sacred, and where the ancestors walked with the living. It was a bubbling village, full of toil, joy, music, sorrow, and magic, a world woven tightly with the thread of community and the pulse of ancient life. The ancient village of Ada had always been this lively, and the people enjoyed the monotonous life they lived. The village. Then came this night. It was thick with sorrow and rage. Beneath the ancient iroko tree that marked the boundary between the living and the spirits bathed in the flickering light of dying embers, a lone figure knelt, her body racked by sobs that echoed through the silent village. She knelt alone. Her clothes were torn, her hair wild and unkempt, and her eyes were red from endless weeping. She was the widow, known to all as Orda, a mother who had lost her only son to the gods. She raised her trembling hands to the heavens and cursed the king of Ada with a voice that carried the weight of unbearable grief, a heart-wrenching wail raw with pain and rage. "You shall lose your daughter," she wailed, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. "For you have taken my child, my only son, and cast him to the gods as sacrifice. And now I shall take from you what you hold most dear." Her words hung heavy in the air, a dark promise that would soon unravel the fate of the kingdom. The moon hung low over the village of Ida, casting silver shadows on the mud walls and thatched roofs. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and earth, but beneath the calm surface, a storm brewed, one born of grief and fury. "You shall lose your daughter," she cried again, her words slicing through the night.
"You shall lose your daughter,
King of Ida,
for you have taken
you who
my
sent my child to the gods,
only...
you will pay with the blood of your own flesh. Your daughter will fall, and your kingdom will weep as I do now." The villagers stirred in their homes, uneasy whispers spreading like wildfire. The elders exchanged worried glances, knowing that curses spoken with such venom were not to be taken lightly. If you watched to this point, I believe that you find this story interesting, Kindly subscribe to this channel for more stories like this and share this video to people who would love it. Turn on your notification button. You see, the kingdoms of Ida and Iga had long been neighbors, their lands separated by the great river that wound like a silver serpent through the dense forests and fertile plains. For generations, the two peoples had traded, intermarried, and sometimes clashed over the rich farmlands and sacred groves that both claimed as their heritage. But peace was fragile. In the 18th year of King Obasi's reign, tensions often erupted into open wars. The kingdom of Iga, fierce and proud, sought to expand its territory, driven by the need to control trade routes and fertile lands. Ida, equally determined to defend its sovereignty, prepared for battle. The wars were brutal and relentless. Warriors from both sides fought with spears, bows, and the thunder of war drums echoing through the valleys. The forests became battlegrounds, and villages were razed as the conflicts dragged on. Months earlier, the drums of war had thundered across the lands. The neighboring kingdom of Iga, fierce and unyielding, had marched upon Ida's fertile fields. The people of Ida, led by their wise and just king, prepared for battle. Desperate to turn the tide, King Obadi summoned the village diviner, Adama, and in a meeting with the elders from the 9 clans of the village, the diviner revealed that the gods asked for human sacrifice for victory to be granted unto Ida. In the shadow of the great baobab tree, the king and his council had agreed to offer a sacrifice, a child to appease the gods and ensure victory. The choice fell upon Orta's son, a bright boy whose laughter had once filled the village with joy. The king's counsel was torn. To sacrifice a child was a grave act, one that risked angering the spirits as much as appeasing them. But the threat of defeat loomed larger than their fears. The sacrifice was made with heavy hearts, and soon after, Ida's warriors gained the upper hand, forcing Iga's forces to retreat. Yet the victory was hollow. The price paid was more than bloodshed. On the battlefield, it was a wound that would fester in the hearts of the people. Orta, the widow, was a woman of quiet strength and deep love. Orta, the widow, was a woman of quiet strength and deep, unwavering love. The kind of love that lingered in the air long after her voice fell silent. Her presence was not loud, but it was felt. She moved through the village with a graceful stillness, like the hush before rainfall, and though her garments were simple and worn, there was an undeniable dignity in the way she carried herself. Her face, lined gently by time and sorrow, held the softness of a mother and the firmness of one who had endured more than most. Her eyes, large, dark, and often rimmed with tiredness, were deep wells of emotion, reflecting both a sorrow buried deep within and a resilience that refused to break. They had once danced with joy when her son's laughter echoed through the village, but after his death, they became quiet flames, burning low with pain and purpose. Orta did not speak often, but when she did, her words were deliberate and rich with wisdom. Children listened, elders nodded, even the wind seemed to hush when she chose to speak. After her son's sacrifice, something changed in Orta. At first it was subtle, a longer pause before answering greetings, a distant look in her eyes when the village children passed by. But grief, when it festers in silence, becomes something else. In Orta, it became fire wrapped in stillness. She stopped attending market gatherings and festivals. Where once she sang softly while grinding pepper, her compound became quiet. People said they saw her walking alone into the forest at dusk, barefoot, speaking softly to the trees. Others said they caught glimpses of her seated by her son's grave, late into the night, whispering things in a language older than the village itself. Orta was changing. She began visiting the stream that ran behind the village, not to fetch water, but to sit beside it in stillness, eyes closed, hands submerged. When she returned, she was calmer, but something lingered in the air around her, something sacred and unsettling. The village elders grew uneasy, not because she had done anything wrong, but because she had become something they could no longer define. Some said the spirits had entered her, others whispered that her grief had summoned them. Even the diviner, when pressed, offered only a cryptic warning. A woman whose child has been taken no longer walks as woman alone. She walks with those who watch from the other side. One evening, smoke rose from her compound, not the smoke of cooking fires, but thick, fragrant smoke from herbs only the old medicine keepers remembered. Children were called inside early. Dogs stopped barking. Even the trees seemed to lean slightly away from her home. And yet, Orta remained silent. But her silence now had weight. It carried judgment. It carried memory. It carried a storm. By the time the first strange deaths occurred, a crow falling from the sky, a goat giving birth to a stillborn kid with human-like eyes, the villagers began to fear her. Not for what she had done, but for what she might become. Her son was her world, the light of her days and the hope for her future. When he was taken for the sacrifice, she had pleaded with the king and the elders, but her cries were drowned by the drums of war and the chants of the priests. Orta was not just a mother robbed of her child. She was a vessel of ancient sorrow and a mirror to the village's guilt. Her quiet strength was not passive. It was the calm before the storm, the silence that warned of something deeper stirring just beneath the surface. After the sacrifice, Orta's grief consumed her. She withdrew from the village, wandering into the forest where the spirits dwelled. Her sorrow turned to bitterness, and her heart hardened against the kingdom that had taken her child. In her grief, her spirit transformed and became dark and vengeful. She returned to the kingdom not as a woman, but as a wrathful spirit. One night, beneath the weeping branches of the Iroko tree, she raised her voice in a curse that would echo through time. "You shall lose your daughter, for the blood of my child cries out for justice. Your kingdom will suffer as I suffer, and no mother shall be spared." The villagers soon felt the weight of her curse. Children began to disappear mysteriously, and mothers wept for their lost babes. Fear gripped Ida like a shadow, and whispers of a vengeful spirit spread from hut to hut, and the elders whispered of a curse unleashed upon them. In the weeks that followed, many more children began to disappear from their beds. Mothers found their infants lifeless, and a shadow of fear crept over Ida. The villagers whispered of a spirit, angry, vengeful, and relentless. The village diviner, an old man clouded by age but sharp with wisdom, sensed the dark power at work and sought to uncover the truth. He called upon the ancestors for guidance. Through visions and ancient rites, he uncovered the terrible truth. The spirit of the widow, Orta's spirit, twisted by sorrow and rage, was cursing the kingdom. She had transformed into a wrathful force, punishing the kingdom for its cruelty. I'm excited to know that you watched to this point. I believe that you find this story really interesting. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video to people who would love it. Turn on your notification button. The people of Ida faced a terrible choice: to find a way to appease the widow's spirit, or to face the destruction of their future generations. The diviner summoned the princess, Kaima, the king's only daughter, known for her courage and compassion. Princess Kaima, the king's only daughter, was the very breath of her people, a rare blend of strength and grace, born of royalty, yet rooted in the soul of the land. From the moment she could walk, the village whispered about her spirit, how she fought a wild dog at 3, climbed the sacred palm tree at 7, and spoke with such clarity that even elders paused to listen. She had the poise of a queen-in-waiting and the heart of a healer. Her beauty was undeniable, tall and lithe, with skin the color of rich earth after rain. Her features were noble yet warm, almond-shaped eyes that carried both wisdom and mischief, full lips that could command silence or laughter, and a high forehead often adorned with beads or sacred chalk during rituals. But it was not her looks that made her beloved. It was her courage. Kaima was the child who stood at the front of the line when others hesitated. She sparred with the village boys in mock battles, unafraid to bruise or be bruised, yet she was the same girl who would stop in the middle of her training to tend to a bird with a broken wing. Her hands knew both the feel of a spear and the delicate care of herbs and oils. She was a warrior in spirit, but her power lived equally in her compassion. When the yam harvest failed in the eastern quarter, Kaima was the first to ride out on horseback, baskets of grain strapped behind her, delivering food and comfort with her own hands. When the village healer's wife died, Kaima sat with her daughters through the night, singing softly, sharing silence when words would not do. The king, Obadi, once said of her, "She was born with thunder in her blood and a river in her heart." And the people agreed. For in every crisis, Kaima remained unshaken, listening before acting and leading without pride. She wore her war garments not just as symbols of status, but as tools of protection, for her people, for her land, for justice. Her armor was fitted close to her body, made of fine leather strengthened with metalwork from the village smith. Her arms bore markings of her clan and the beads of her mother's lineage. Around her neck she wore a single pendant, carved from the tusk of an elephant her grandfather had once spared, a symbol of strength through mercy. But beneath all this strength lived a woman of immense tenderness, one who wept in private when children were harmed, who feared losing those she loved, and who, above all, believed that duty was sacred even when it demanded sacrifice. Princess Kaima was more than a royal daughter. She was the pulse of Ida. And when darkness came for the village, it was not the warriors or diviners who stepped forward first. It was Kaima. The diviner told Princess Kaima of a rare herb deep within the forest, one that could appease the spirit and end the curse. But the journey would be perilous. "I will save my people," she declared, her voice steady and strong. "No curse shall claim my kingdom while I still breathe." With the blessings of the elders and the prayers of her people, Kaima agreed to venture into the dark forest, her heart heavy but resolute. Princess Kaima was unlike any other royal daughters. From childhood, she had been raised not only in the splendor of the palace but also in the wisdom of her people's traditions. Her father, the king, had taught her the weight of leadership, while the village elders had instilled in her a deep respect for the spirits and the land. Yet it was her heart, brimming with empathy for her people, that truly defined her. When the diviner revealed the curse's origin and the only hope, a rare herb hidden deep within the forest that could appease the widow's vengeful spirit, Kaima did not hesitate. The forest was a place of mystery and danger, where spirits roamed and few dared to tread. But Kaima's resolve was ironclad. Before she left, she donned the traditional royal attire, embroidered with symbols of protection and strength. Her mother's necklace, a talisman said to hold the blessings of their ancestors, rested against her chest. With a final prayer to the gods and blessings from the elders, she stepped beyond the palace gates, her footsteps light but determined. The forest greeted her with a chorus of whispers, the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of wild creatures, and the faint murmur of unseen spirits. She faced wild beasts, treacherous paths, and the haunting presence of the widow's spirit. The forest loomed ahead like a living wall, dense, ancient, and humming with secrets too old for human language. The villagers of Ida rarely ventured beyond the sacred trees that marked the boundary of their world, but Princess Kaima stood at the edge, alone, her breath steady and her spear gripped tight. She had said nothing when the diviner declared the gods demanded a sacrifice. She only looked to her father, King Obadi, her eyes full of silent understanding. She did not cry. She did not protest. Instead, she bowed before the elders, kissed her father's hand, and left before dawn. Her pouch filled with sacred herbs, her blade sharpened, and her mind set. The forest path was barely visible, swallowed by vines and mist. Each step she took cracked dry leaves beneath her feet, but the forest did not welcome her with silence. It murmured. The wind whispered through the trees as though the spirits already knew her name, already knew why she had come. Somewhere above, a hawk cried, a sharp, echoing call that sent small animals scattering into the underbrush. Kaima moved with the grace of one born to the wild. Her eyes scanned everything, every twist in a tree trunk, every sudden hush in the birdsong. She knew the forest was sacred. The stories told of spirits with eyes like fire and voices like rustling leaves. but she did not fear. Her mother had once told her, "To walk among spirits, you must know your own." By midday, sweat glistened on her brow, and her arms were streaked with dirt and broken leaves. Her feet ached from the journey, but she did not stop. She passed the place where the river split into three, the place the elders called the Mouth of Judgment. There she knelt, opened her pouch, and placed a handful of dried herbs into the water. The scent of crushed leaves and camwood filled the air. She whispered a prayer, not for victory, but for peace. As the sun dipped lower, the light in the forest shifted, turning gold, then copper, then deep bronze. Shadows stretched and blurred. Kaima reached the heart of the forest, the forbidden place where the trees grew close and tall, where time seemed to slow. A wide clearing opened before her, quiet as breath. In the center stood a mound of earth marked with ancient stones, covered in moss. It was the altar of those long gone, a place untouched by human feet for generations. And there, Kaima laid down her spear. She removed her war belt, set the pouch of herbs beside the stones, and knelt. "I offer myself," she said softly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "Let this end with me." The forest did not answer in words, but the wind circled her. The trees swayed, and the spirits listened. Kaima's eyes scanned the shadows, her senses alert. She recalled the diviner's words. The herb glowed faintly under the moonlight, a beacon for those pure of heart. A glowing leaf said to hold the power of peace and forgiveness. Hours turned into days as Kaima navigated the dense undergrowth. She faced fiercer trials that tested her courage: venomous snakes, sudden storms, and illusions conjured by restless spirits. Yet, her spirit never wavered. She sang songs of peace and forgiveness, calming the restless energies around her. One night, as the moon bathed the forest in silver light, Kaima found the herb, a cluster of leaves shimmering with an ethereal glow. Kneeling, she gently gathered it, whispering a vow to return and end the curse that plagued her people. Her journey back was no less perilous. The widow's spirit, sensing Kaima's mission, sought to bar her path. Shadows coalesced into terrifying shapes, voices hissed warnings, but Kaima's courage shone brighter than the darkness. She pressed on, driven by love for her kingdom and a fierce determination to save them. As dawn broke over Ada, the village was tense with anticipation. The curse had taken many lives, and hope rested on the princess's shoulders. Kaima arrived at the diviner's shrine, the sacred place where the boundary between the living and the spirit world was thinnest. She presented the glowing herb to Adama, who began the ritual to appease the widow's spirit. The air thickened with incense smoke and the rhythmic beat of drums. The villagers gathered, their eyes filled with hope and fear. But as the ritual reached its peak, the widow's spirit appeared, her form both beautiful and terrifying, a mother's grief twisted into wrath. She spoke with a voice like the wind through dry leaves, demanding justice and recognition of her pain. Kaima stepped forward, her voice calm but resolute. "I am the daughter of your enemy, but I come not to fight, but to heal. Accept this offering, and let peace return to our land. Take me instead." The spirit's eyes softened for a moment, but the weight of her sorrow was too great. The villagers gasped. Kaima had fallen, her life ebbing away. Adama whispered, "She has given herself to the spirit. Her sacrifice will end the curse." Kaima's final breath was a prayer for her people's safety. The widow's spirit, touched by the princess's selflessness, vanished into the morning mist, lifting the curse that had haunted Ida. The village mourned their princess, whose bravery and compassion had saved them all. Her story became legend, a testament to the power of sacrifice, love, and the strength of a true leader. The people of Ada honored Princess Kaima's memory. Her story passed down through generations as a testament to courage, sacrifice, and the power of compassion. The widow's spirit was never seen again, and peace returned to the land. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to this channel and share this video to people who would love it. Turn on your notification button so you can get notified when I post the next video. See you soon.